Okay. Okay. So let's begin. Isabel and I, are here are in Abu Dhabi at the IUCN World Conservation Congress, which happens every 4 years. And this time took place in United, what do you say, Emiratos Árabes, which is an incredible city, very developed. It's not very old. It's only 50 years old, but it is incredible the technology and how advanced it is. In the other hand, they don't have nearly as close of biodiversity as some of the countries that are part of this network. So it's fantastic to be here representing the women's voice. There was two summits before the Congress started. The first one was on Indigenous people. The first time ever that Indigenous people summit is hold, and the youth summit that Isabella participated. She can tell you more about it. Um, so what is really really sad is the whole language about gender has been changed to inclusion. Basically, nobody else is talking about the intersectionality as it was just not long ago. So it is more noticeable that we need to continue to advocate. Everyone knows how important it is to have women uh, inclusion in across the sectors, across all the levels, but it is a little bit sad to see the setback. So we got to continue doing the work that we're doing. Of course, we presented that we have a network of in Latin America, but also an international network, and they're really happy and applaud all the efforts. So Sylvia, we want to extend that gratitude to you because it's super important. So today is the final day of the assembly. So the Congress is divided into two parts. One that is open to public and institutions and obviously the partners, but they have a lots of stands down there where people present and organizations present what they're doing, and they're coming from many countries. So I just want to show you quickly now that we go here, good signal because the internet has been really, really bad. So that is the pavilions, and it's very few people because today we only have the members voting. I see if I can make it that far so you can have a sense of what it looks like to be in an assembly meeting. In the assembly meeting, the president Razam, they go through all the motions and elect the council, elect the president, and elect the representatives from the different regions: Africa, Asia, Oceania, Latin America, the Americas. So we all are voting for a good representation. The positive thing is that a lot of women are part of the the council. That is very important to push the agenda. Also, youth and the indigenous people. So we coming here to the hall number 5. But this is live from Abu Dhabi. If you get dizzy, tell me. So I stop and turn around. There we go. I don't know if they will let me go inside. Let's have a look. At least a lot of media coverage. Hi. This is all the members doing a lot of good work. As you can see, they're actually now reviewing motion 084. It's about developing a circular and sustainable bioeconomy. So I just want to head back now. So you see the process of all going floor, they can give their opinions and until everyone votes and have an agreement on the wording, the structure, it gets approved and the council and the president, they submit for votes and it's all official, really transparent process. Okay. Do you have any questions while I walk towards the table? I can answer.
Why is the inclusion of women going backwards?
Unfortunately, it's because the current situation and many in the politics, and that's put everyone in a big setback. Um, the language as I was used before now is restrictions on it, so people have to be careful how we address the issue that comes down to that. And a lot of organizations and institutions have demounted the initiatives that were supporting gender.
Andrea asked, do you think there is hope to support Indigenous communities that protect biodiversity?
So yeah, the positive news is, as I mentioned, the Indigenous Summit, where we have representation from the Indigenous groups, and the model now that everyone sees that is very important to adopt and implement is to give the Indigenous people the right and the tools and training and funding for them to become the stewards of the land directly. So it is a huge progress. That the first time that Indigenous Summit happened in person with a really good attendance. They have a huge pavilion, and there were lots of sessions and sharing from them why it's super important to change the model. That conservation practices have been applied along the years, and now there is more on the ground empowerment with local communities. Not only they don't talk about a gender per se, but the people and the people on the ground. So I think the switching that the top bottom, but also a little bit of colonialism because big NGOs now they want to strengthen relationships and the capacity for local organizations. So what this is really important for all of us because it is an opportunity for the women's led organizations on the ground to become more visible. And another beautiful example that I want to share, there was an award ceremony given by the Forest Ranger Association and Conservation Alliance IUCN for forest guards across the world. They do give awards every year, and this year the ceremony took place about 3 nights ago. Our our group of women that we've been supporting in Madagascar with Fonambi, they receive an award. And we supported 5 women ranger, and the Soari, the director, came to receive the award. So I want to share with you all those photos. It was very emotional, of course, because we've been supporting these women and to see them receiving this wonderful recognition in a beautiful pavilion with ceremony is extremely good. So I'm very proud of the network, and we need to support more women rangers, more women researchers, more initiatives. Um, so I pass on to Isabella if you want to add anything else on the experience here in Abu Dhabi in the Congress.
Hello, how is everybody? It's lovely to see you or be connected across the screen. And as people say here, salam alaikum. We are so happy and so blessed to be able to meet with so many interesting leaders globally. There has been an amazing amount of people this couple of days. We are really active in the sense of connecting and networking with as many people as possible. I just now was speaking to someone from Palestine. We've met people from countries few and far between. And what I have taken as a message from here, Abu Dhabi, is that we have to move as fast as possible connecting different organizations because there's a lot of positive things and there's also a lot of political change that has affected groups, especially women's groups. So I would like for us to, even though we are limited, I would like for us to support other groups as much as possible and to move more into helping grassroots initiatives directly because it seems like on the conservation grand scheme, there's the same organizations and the same pattern. So us, although we are still small and we are limited in resources and we're doing as much as we can as fast as possible, women are agents of change and women are on the front lines of conservation and of struggles with different climate change um, effects globally. So, although it is still a conversation on in the majority quite small and it's slowly being recognized, there's a need for us to hear your voices and for us to give platforms to the people who most need it because just like in many other ways and institutions, it's difficult to change the system. So the way that we actually create change is giving voice and giving the microphone to the people who most need to be heard. So this women's network is for that reason. How we want to help is based on how each other presents and the opportunities that we have. We share the information that we are um, shared as well. We want to give those tools to the most amount of people possible. So what I would like to do in the next coming months is to form a more solid group and to be able to identify an activity or a form of conservation action that we can all do simultaneously in the same couple of days or weeks in our own areas and give that a highlight and show it on a platform, our platform, World of Women for Conservation, but also share it with the leaders and the connections we've done and made in the last couple of days, which have been significant. So, our growth is not just for Women for Conservation, but our growth will extend to the partner sister organizations who are a part of this network. And being said that, it's also important that the sister organizations support and advocate for similar initiatives. Because one of the issues that I see here and is faced in the conference and in conservation is that there's limits with each organization and there's a form of competition or um, solitude in each initiative. Everything is it's formed and buffered, and each organization or initiative is just in their own world. And what really has to happen for conservation to be a complete success is that we all need to start connecting with each other and helping each other and also sharing in resources or scholarships in what we can to groups that are maybe smaller than us so each one can scale up. So there's been a lot of talking about scaling and how philanthropy can scale up and help different small initiatives. And the issue with small organizations being able to reach that is that they don't have the tools, they don't have the information, and they lack the access to be able to get to that point. So instead of seeing other organizations as competitors for the same resources, we should try to act in a way as sisters or as a bridge so that this organization, this initiative can give me information from this, and I will give them information so that there can be a synergy between institutions. And that is my reflection of this conference.
Thank you for sharing, Isabella. It seems like you all have learned a lot at the IUCN Congress. It was nice to
Yes,
see
we
what the
have.
building looked like.
Thank you, Libby. And we would like to open the conversation, the conservation conversation, to all of our participants. If you would like to speak and show us your beautiful faces, we would love to hear you now.
Welcome. Yeah, no, it's super important now, more than that we can imagine, is to continue with these alliances and this network of women like-minded. But also, it's very, very important that we continue to communicate about the work that everyone is doing. Because if we don't share, to be honest, doesn't exist. So one of the priorities that we have, and with the example of Fonambi with the women rangers that we've been supporting, when they started with us a couple of years ago, there were challenges, but now they are an example of how things can be turned around thanks to the patrolling that they're doing with the bicycles that we raise the funds for. There are no fire threats anymore. So it's like fantastic story to share and to tell others. So that's exactly what we're going to want to do now is to share about the stories of the people on the ground, the women on the ground, and communicate in a way that is not a threat to anyone, but is on contrary, is a benefit for everyone. So we have to be very adaptive to the new environment and where we are, and encourage other people to join us. So we there is a lot of more work for us to do, but I think the organizations that we met, they really want to continue to do, and we're extremely grateful to Chanel Foundation, Chanel, who support Isabella and me to be here in this Congress. Otherwise, we will not be able to be here. And they understand the importance of what we're doing also.
So, well, I would like to speak on that. I think it's so important for us in this very critical time to not lose hope because we have about 5 years in the future here to 5 years where we can actually make tangible change and we can reverse some form of effects of climate change, and also we can mitigate the climate catastrophe as long as we work together and collaborate. And that's something that is very evident in many of the communications and press conferences, as well as the official opening and the words, the ceremonies that have been had, is that we are at a critical point of time. So if in the last 15 years there was a good time to work and to push through, it's right now. So, Indigenous peoples' ceremonies and Indigenous peoples' participation is extremely important because now the first conservation conference in the world, the major one, now for the very first time, there is a whole section dedicated to Indigenous peoples. And I spoke to somebody who was during the entire process of IUCN. He had participated in the very first meetings, and IUCN, he was there for more than 40 years. And he told me that previously indigenous peoples were not accounted for, were completely ignored in conservation, and there was no support, and they were never invited to any kind of conference. But now it's completely different because indigenous peoples have a lot of power, have so much more power than other communities because of the fact that they protect and conserve and have the majority of their biodiversity in their territories, which makes them stakeholders with the most amount of importance as well as with vote, and they have the decision making power. So having said that, I think that as long as there is a strategic approach and there are methods and applied ob- ob- um, goals towards the different initiatives within indigenous groups and organizations, they potentially could be world leaders in the next coming conferences because we have met a few very, very interesting and just groundbreaking indigenous leaders this time around, and they hadn't had the opportunity previously to have that. So they were given a platform as well as multiple indigenous focus events, conferences. They had their own pavilion which was constantly running with different side events. So people in the field, they wouldn't necessarily know that, but there's a global shift of energy, seeing as that now the coming biodiversity targets and the different CBD or convention of biological biodiversity framework of which the IUCN does all of their policy, it says that indigenous peoples need to be considered because they are the guardians and protectors of the major areas of biodiversity.
Andrea, I think about what you said in the chat about our stories feeling not important. Maybe that's why a space like this is very helpful so that we can share our work with one another and just take a moment to celebrate what we're doing so that we can come together and realize that the work that we are doing is important and that we are together in this project of fighting climate change and biodiversity loss.
Exactly. Well said, Livy.
Thank you. Well, does Sylvia or Hiwa have anything to share about what your organizations have been doing recently? Thank you for your message in the chat, Sylvia.
Can you read the comment to all of us, Livy, please,
Yes,
from
Sylvia
Sylvia?
said, "Thank you, Isabella and Sarah, for representing women in this important initiative. I really resonate with Isabella's point about bridging networks. There are philanthropic trainings on long-term capital for social impact that align with connecting women. Here in Kenya, few women are involved in conservation, so I truly appreciate what I've learned today and the chance to hear this international discussion. Also, as someone working with Indigenous groups, I'm glad to hear their support for these communities too." Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing,
fantastic.
Sylvia.
Thank you. And one of the other things that I would like to see in the future is that we, as the Women in Nature, our network, come to the next event. They declared that the what is it? The Parks Congress, sorry, Parks Congress is going to be in Panama in 2 years, and I would love, I really would love to find some funding to bring a team of people to Panama and be more spoken about it, what we're doing, the different initiatives, and highlight the importance. So maybe having people from Kenya, having women from all the continents is super important. And I think Isabella and I agree that to have these platforms, use these platforms to share the message is extremely important, and hopefully help other women and women's groups to get another awards and recognitions from institutions that are really important and they value that. So what we want to see is that all of you become leaders, you become models, you are the inspiration already, but we want to make you more famous in a sense that people need to know what you all are doing.
Yes, I would like to expand on that as to why it's important for us to have these networking circles and these conservation conversations. Because through the presentations or the information that is shared that we can give, as well as the stories in the field that you may have, this allows us to open up in a broader way support, and also to be able to learn from you as you learn from us. That is so important as sisters and partners, that not we do not have all of the answers, and we are learning just as much as we are creating. But it is so important in this time to amplify those stories and to actually speak about them and not just keep them all to ourselves, because then there's no way to shed light on them. And that was something that was really interesting here in the conference, is that we got to meet some wonderful women. One of the women rangers that won, she was from Iran, and she works in a completely difficult conflict zone in the Iranian wilderness, and she was also part of leading a movement based on one day that this girl was shot in Iran and died, and because of not wearing the hijab. And so she and other women were leading a movement, and then she became a conservationist and a forest guard, and we got to meet her, and we want to continue supporting her. And it's just a fabulous opportunity to learn about such empowered women. And also, it's so it's such a moment of humility to meet someone with so much power and so humble, that has
Mhm.
created so much change and does it in a way that, it's sometimes it's so much more powerful to meet and hear that in person, but to be able to
Hmm.
share those messages in general is just amazing, because nobody would have guessed. It's like sitting next to a rock star, a celebrity, and just being able to meet them, and actually, wow, it changes your
Yes,
perspective on life.
exactly. And to see, like in the Rangers Award ceremony, have many women, about five women receive the award. For it's incredible. So it's really good, and that's exactly what we want to continue to share with all the members and other partners. That these stories are so important, and your story matters, and you as a
Mm-hmm.
woman are important in your community in the work that you do. So just to break this isolation and become
Mm-hmm.
more united and closer
Mm-hmm.
to each other. So
Exactly.
it's very, very exciting, really.
And one other thing I would like to say about Suari in the Fanabi Madagascar group, she works with other women rangers, and she is such a personality. And the way that she has carried out the project is wonderful. And that I love of Baobabs, and it's a spiritual connection, and it's just the most spectacular feeling to hear these women and then potentially be able to connect them with greater opportunities. For example, with Sierra Leone, the project that we support, that is Fridays with Rosaline, we amplified her voice and story on part of the network, and she received 10,000 euros as a winner of the recipients of the Conservation Connect Circle. So the stories that we tell and share on these calls that we will later put on YouTube will be an opportunity for others to connect and to hear, and possibly even directly fund those projects, because that's the whole point, is that there's these blessings that are available to all of us, and we want our sister partners to grow, because our goal at the end is that we all can thrive in a prosperous and abundant planet that is healthy, and that we are harmonious with one and all.
Well, this is fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. We need to get back to the assembly. To There is a motion that's being open for voting, so we need to get back and vote. But thank you, and I wish you could join the next one because it's super important.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone, for coming. It was lovely to
Thank
hear
Thank
from
you.
you.
you. I just want to
Thank you
say
so
to
much.
the group, there is hope, there is time, there's so much that we can do. There's so many people that I want to help, and we are not alone here in conservation. I had a very terrible perspective previously, but now it's enlightened, because I see that there are global leaders who actually care about our stories and want us to grow.
Thank you. That's very
Thank
inspiring.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.
Bye
Have a nice
bye. See you
night.
next one.